This episode is sponsored by the Paper Trails Greeting Company. Runners near and far, hear ye, hear ye. There's an amazing company that's dedicated to celebrating and encouraging every runner that laces up a pair of running shoes, and it's called the Paper Trails Greeting Company. This company offers something that's hard to replicate in a text message, and that is a physical, innovative, and genuine note of kindness that supports and celebrates every runner. The motto of the company is that every runner belongs, and each card proves that. The cards preach community among all runners, and there's a card for each season of a runner's journey. If you've run a new personal best, there's a card that celebrates that. If you suffered an injury, there's a card that lets you know that someone is thinking of you and that you'll come back even stronger. There's even a card that celebrates your significant running other. For me personally, I never felt like a runner. But then I stumbled across the Paper Trails Greeting Company, and it inspired me to pick up running again, and eventually it made me feel like I was a part of the running community. Go on their website, papertrailsgreetingco.com, and check out their incredible selection of cards. Use the code Lactic Acid in all caps for 15% off your order. They also have inspirational stickers and PDF printouts, so be sure to check those out as well. Then follow them on their social media page on Instagram, Paper Trails Greeting Co., as well on Facebook. And always remember to celebrate every runner and that every runner belongs. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, and welcome to Lactic Acid, the podcast where the takes are fresh, the ideas are ripe, and that makes us the best in the bunch. I am your host, Dominique Smith, and today we have the GOAT when it comes to track and field podcasting. There's none better. She's conducted so many interviews. She is a I'm losing my head, but she calls racist and she does it very well. There's pretty much nothing that she can't do. She has her famous show, Allie on the Run. You better check it out. Comes out twice a week. She is none other than Mrs. Allie Feller. Allie, what's going on? Thank you for coming on the show.
Can you come do that every morning when I wake up? And that was a good pump up. I loved that. Thank you for the very kind introduction.
I got you, fam. It's all facts.
I loved it. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Of course. It's like I'm sitting with Michael Jordan and LeBron James combined. Like if they were like a combined person for a podcast. So this is like gold for me and everything.
I feel like they're much cooler. I don't think I've ever been used in the same sentence as those two. So my ego is just gonna fill the room right now.
Hey, that's what it is. I'm excited to hear that. So I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everyone when they first come on the show. If you had to pick a superhero, and I'm going to be generous, or a television character to describe your art as a podcaster, who are you rolling with?
Oh, gosh. So I've thought about this a lot in terms of who I'm most like personality wise. And I never love the answers because they're never who I want to be like. Like I always think of Claire Dunphy from Modern Family. If you've seen the show, okay. She's totally uptight and neurotic and plans things and wants things a certain way. And that's not who I want to be, but it is who I am at my core. Gosh, as a podcaster, so the first person who comes to mind is Wonder Woman, because who doesn't want to be Wonder Woman? And I will confess, I've not seen the film that came out however many years ago, but I was on a flight this past weekend and I love seeing what other people choose to watch on planes.
Okay.
Very nosy. And the woman in front of me was watching Wonder Woman and I was captivated. I didn't have the sound on and I was just staring the whole time. And so I feel like I got to go Wonder Woman because who doesn't want to be that? I love her vibe. I love how badass she is. So let's go Wonder Woman.
I do not get that. I have seen Modern Family many times. I do not get that character when it comes to you. I don't know if you've seen the show The Middle with Patricia Heaton and all of those. And so from a personality, like a bubbly personality, you're like Sue Heck.
Okay, my mom watches that show, so I'm going to have to hit my mom up and ask if that's accurate. But
okay.
You've not seen me at home when I'm trying to get my 3-year-old to take a bath and I want to get the house cleaned and everything's going on. I would say as a mom, I'm a bit Claire Dunphy.
Okay, that's fair.
I aspire to be Alexis from Schitt's Creek. I think she's got
Okay.
a heart of gold. She's a little hustler, but she always stays true to who she is. And so I aspire to be Alexis Rose from Schitt's Creek.
I like that. Okay.
And a little bit of Keely Jones from Ted Lasso. They're my
So,
two like dream characters, Keely and Alexis. Them together. That's what I want to be.
so Keely, Alexis, LeBron, and Michael. That's who you are.
That's the dream team
That's
right
it.
there.
With just a sprinkle of Suhek. So let me clarify. So I don't want your mama coming at me or you coming at me when she explains Suhek.
Okay.
The bubbly personality, you have to watch Suhek to understand how crazy.
Okay.
But the bubbly personality. Okay.
I'll take it. I am pretty bubbly, so I'll take it.
That. I like that. As I mentioned, Allie has the famous, incredible podcast, the Allie on the Run show. And so before we get started and kind of dig deep into the interview, so I live here in Orlando, Florida. And so I found out that you were down here recently in Clearwater for the I think it was a half marathon. Did you expect it to be now you're from New Hampshire, you live in New Hampshire, if I'm not mistaken. Did you expect the weather to be what it was?
No. I went for a run today in New Hampshire and I'm like getting ready for my run. I just dropped my daughter off at school and my husband was getting ready to take our dog for a walk. And he's like, "Is it really nice out?" Because we had said something about how it was going to be warm today. And I was like, "Yeah, it's like 40." And I go, "So it's warmer than it was in Florida?" So yes, today I ran in beautiful 40-degree weather in New Hampshire and it was 37 down in Clearwater. That was it was quite shocking. The good news, I will say, the good news is it was great for the runners. The 5K on Saturday was very windy, but I don't think anyone was there to try and PR the 5K. It's kind of just the fun shakeout before you do the half, the marathon, the ultra the next day. So on Sunday, it was chilly for me because I just stand there as the race announcer. I got like 4 steps that day. I don't move from my little station. But for the runners, the sun came out, the wind died down. It was around 40 degrees. It really was beautiful running weather. So I'm happy for them. And I would like a break from the cold sometime soon. That was going to be my big January thaw. And it did not happen for me. But,
it's 83 here today. So
yeah, no, we said I flew out on Monday. So
yeah.
Monday I flew back to New Hampshire. By Monday afternoon in Florida, it was like 60 something. By Tuesday, it was in the 70s. I was literally there for like the 3 coldest days Florida's had in a decade. So
in 4 years, like it was, I don't know. Florida cold is different because it's like if you drink a pot of black coffee with like some rum in it or something. I don't it's just like
just
that.
Go hard.
Yeah, just go hard. I think the young kids call it a Four Loko or whatever the case might be. It's like because it's so bitter and it like it stings. It's like a pinch and everything.
Yeah, because you're standing with palm trees in the background wearing a puffy coat. And I'm like, this is not what I was going for. I did not need to pack bathing suits. I did because I was optimistic. I always will be optimistic. And I was like, you never know. It's like how they say in the summer, how it's like, oh, every day Florida is like thunderstorms, but it's like, it doesn't actually do that. Or it's for like 5 seconds in the afternoon,
Have you been to Florida in the summer?
But like you want a bathing suit in the summer because at some point it's going to be hot. Whereas this, it never quite got to that.
Okay,
so
no,
I was hoping the weather might change or not be
yes.
accurate, but I was wrong.
Yes. So it's not at some point it's going to be hot. It's like I get up at 7:30 to bring the trash up and I have to take a shower because of the humidity and stuff like that. So yes, Florida is the most bipolar state when it comes to weather. But I apologize that we were not on our best behavior when it comes to the thermostat.
It's okay. It was good for the runners.
It was good,
that's
but it
top
was
priority.
It was bad for the experience, and so the experiences is what mattered. But we hope the runners had a good time, and we're thankful.
And we will be back.
Yes, good. But anyway, I met Allie. People who listen to the show have heard about the Magic Boost program, probably so much that they're tired of it, which is fine. I don't really care. But I forgot what week it was, but it was arguably the best week we had, because we had so many incredible people. Allie, Chris Bennett, and Lewis Johnson. And I was fortunate enough to be in Allie's group in a breakout session. And it was like the most incredible thing ever. And I said this, there are two, like when it comes to podcasting, my style, like you and someone else, it really inspired me because it just helped me, be myself, because you are authentically you when you're on the podcast. And it's like, oh my gosh, like you see someone who's successful and being themselves. It's like, okay, cool, I could be myself on my show and everything like that. Why did you have interest in the Magic Boost program and helping other people? And kind of what launched this podcast of yours that is incredibly successful?
Yeah. Well, for Magic Boost specifically, that I bow down to Chris Chavez. Chris Chavez is the ultimate hustler. He works so hard. He is doing so much for this sport. And he's just one of those people that I feel lucky to get to call a friend.
Yeah.
He's someone that I look up to in the industry. And he's someone that when the opportunity presents, I will always work with, collaborate with, hang out with, text with, see Broadway musicals with. Chris he's a good guy. Like Chris I don't think he's got a mean bone in his body, or if he does, I haven't been introduced to it yet. So I'm a big Chris Chavez fan. So when he reached out about being part of Magic Boost, that was an easy yes for me. I love what it's all about. I think, just like you said, I think there's so much value in bringing new people into this sport and the media side of it and letting them be who they are. Because for so long, we've watched the same broadcast at races. We've watched the same sports coverage. We've seen the same people ask the same questions after the athletes finish a race. And don't get me wrong, there are so many very talented people who do things I could never do. I could never do race commentary. I could never be part of a broadcast. Like I can't talk about the stats and the splits and have an authoritative voice on that because I've not been in the position of a professional runner. So there are lots of talented people, but I think it's good to shake it up a little bit. And we've seen a lot of really cool stuff over the past, especially the past year, but I would say the past few years, things like the Trials of Miles events and all of the coverage that they're doing. And they're trying new stuff. They're bringing in new people, younger people, people with fresh takes, more diverse voices. And I care a lot about the sport of running. I think for something where we say like all you need are a pair of shoes, there are a lot of barriers to entry when it comes to running. And the more that people can see themselves in the sport in some way, the more this will actually become the community that we're saying it is. So sure, maybe you need shoes and that's it, but like not everyone has that. Not everyone has access to that. Not everyone sees themselves at start lines. Not everyone wants to run races. So I think the more voices we can bring into the sport, the better. And so when Chris said that's what the Magic Boost was all about, I was like, hell yes. What do you want from me? When do you want it? I have not had plans in like years because of the pandemic. And our session was the 1 week I was actually on vacation. So I felt so bad. I'm like, staying at this like motel at the Jersey Shore with it was me and my daughter. My husband had stayed back home. He was working. So it was me and her, and there was like no internet connection. The lighting was terrible. It was just like, from my end, can I swear? Am I allowed to say a little swear?
Yeah.
It was a shit show on my end. I was just like, right up until the second it started, I was like, I'm sitting in the dark. I have no internet. Like, I'm going to be the weak link here. Also, to be next to Lewis Johnson and Coach Bennett, who are just such brilliant minds. And I mean, Lewis is just such a gifted storyteller. I was like, what am I doing here? But I think we all have those moments of what am I doing here? And so yeah, it was really, really fun. I'm excited to be a part of it again this year, and I'll do whatever Chris Chavez wants.
It is weird that you thought that, because like when you came on, it was like, oh snap, like Allie Feller. Like, cause like when you're in a session with Allie Feller, it's like, dude, can I like message her the question? Because like I'm afraid to actually like,
oh my gosh, no.
So
I was like the comic relief. I was like, I'm here for the jokes. You guys are here for like the inspirational stories. Like Coach Bennett, he opens his mouth and it's like poetry. He's just so brilliant. And yeah, Lewis Johnson has interviewed all of the greatest talents in this sport and beyond. Uh, and I was like, does anyone want to hear a joke or a sarcastic comment? I am available.
It's
So
so weird because like that night, myself and Matt Wisner, who is doing great work with New Generation Track and Field, we were the note takers. So essentially, we were assigned each week to like write stuff down, and then we send it to Chris, and then he posted on Sidious. So like I had carpal tunnel like trying to write everything down, like everyone said, and it's so, from my point of view, it's like, okay, you see Lewis and it's like, oh my goodness gracious. And then, meeting him in person, he's like this big, like 6'8", not 6'8", but this big, tall, authoritative figure. And then, Chris Bennett is dropping gems like, like none other. But then there are things that you said, like one of the biggest pieces of advice that I took away was ask questions that if you don't know something, like ask the guess and everything. And that has like, it's proven well because I'm not an expert. I threw the shot put in the discus, but I'm not going to compare myself to Michelle Carter when it comes to, the knowledge and everything. So that's why I say it's funny, like to hear you say that, because that wasn't the vibe at all. It was just like we're like sitting in greatness, and it was like sad because I know you had to leave early, and I think you like cut out once or twice. It was like, dang man, but that was like, when it comes to the sessions, we had incredible sessions, but I think that one was the most memorable for all of us. Because
that's so cool. That makes me so happy.
we tweeted it out like the next day and the next night, because it was like, oh snap, like this really happened. I even think I asked, I was like, listen, like when we make it big, can we come on your show and everything
Yes.
like that and stuff like that. So no, I'm really happy that you were a part of it, because it helped so many people. I know it's helped me so much because you I don't want to say I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Sometimes you try to search for how to do it the right way, and then to see someone do it successfully and have longevity because they are just themselves is like, for me, it was like, okay, I don't need to pretend to be anybody else. Just go out and do what you do. And that's something that you've done for the duration of your show. And so the second question was just, how did Alley on the Run, kick off? And, what was the inspiration, behind it? And how have you maintained such excellence for over 400 episodes? That's just
So
mind-boggling.
many. I know, so many episodes and
Editing. Yeah.
so much editing. You should see my to-do list today. It's a busy time. Yeah, the Alley on the Run show, it turns 5 next week. We got a birthday coming up, so that's pretty exciting. So the show, I launched it in February 11th, 2017, and it was a hobby. I never planned for this to be my job, which is part of what makes this all so sweet and wonderful now, is that it started as a side thing that I loved. And that's kind of been the course of my life, is that I went to college, majored in journalism with a very specific goal in mind, which was to be the editor-in-chief of Dance Spirit magazine, which is a teen dance magazine. I was a dancer and a writer. It was the dream. I was able to do that, worked really hard, got an internship, worked my way up. By the time I was editor in chief, I was like, what's the next great thing? It's like, you spend your whole life dreaming about something, you get the dream. And then I was already thinking about what to do next, instead of just kind of
Yeah.
enjoying it,
Yeah.
which is a character flaw that I will someday work on. So I started running. Running became a part of my life. I started blogging and writing about my running. I started freelancing for publications, writing about running. So I started getting freelance assignments at magazines like Self and Shape and Runner's World and Women's Running, and getting my foot in the door there. Then I went full-time freelance. I left the magazine entirely. I was freelancing full-time, and I said, I'm going to start a podcast. I had been a guest on a show, and I was like, oh my God, you just talk? This is great. Like, this is my favorite activity, talking about running. And this was in 2017, or at the time it was 2016. There were like 4 running podcasts maybe. And I thought I could do this. And the market was not yet oversaturated. And I thought, I'm going to do this as a fun hobby. And once a week, I'm going to talk to my friends. It was never, I'm going to talk to professional athletes, because when I launched the show, I was barely following professional running. There were runners I knew. I knew Kara Goucher. I knew who Paula Radcliffe was. I knew who Des Linden was. But the goal from the start wasn't to get them on the show. It wasn't to be the biggest podcast. It was to talk to my friends and hear how their running was going. So if you look back at the early episodes, that's what it was for a long time. It was just me talking to people that I knew about their running and how they got into it. And that still is the core of the show. It is still about sharing people's stories. But yeah, now it does include Olympians and professional athletes and my friends. It's a little bit of everyone. Like what we were talking about earlier, I want people to see themselves reflected on the show. But at some point, there was a shift where podcasting was the more fun thing I was doing. I was procrastinating all of my writing assignments and I was focusing on the podcast. And then there started to be a shift where not only was I spending more time on the podcast, I realized I could get sponsors and I realized I could monetize it. And I did it for about a year before I made a dime. I mean, I lost money off it for the first year. But then I started to make money and I started to put out more episodes and more people started to listen and I started to do live events and the show grew. And now it's probably been at least a year since I've written anything. I still call myself a freelance writer, but it's been a very long time since I've had the time to write anything. So that's where we are now, and I've branched out into other things as well, race announcing, um, live events, stuff like that. So it's just kind of my whole world now.
Your show is like the perfect piece of fried chicken and like macaroni and cheese. I'm like, well, anybody who listens to the show knows like I'm, from the South, roots in the South. So food is like life for me. Even though I have a banana, you know,
Yeah.
my head
Bananas are good too.
it good too, but nothing like a good piece of fried chicken.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like it's soul food, like for the runner but it's not even for the runner because here's the thing: I don't really know much about running. I threw. I'm starting to get into running, like personally and stuff like that. It's weird, but there's something soothing about it. But you listen to it, and yes, they're your friends, but they seem to be friends. It's never a feeling of intrusion, like I'm intruding into a conversation as much as we're hanging out, everybody's hanging out talking. It's a sense of family and a sense of community. Your style, about that, how did that, obviously you just said that you're just talking with friends, but to get them comfortable enough to where you feel like everybody's family, how did you integrate that style into your podcasting?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I dated a guy who I will not name publicly. Uh, he once told me that it was embarrassing going out with me because we would go out with his friends and he's like, you grill them. Like, we're trying to just hang out at a bar and you're asking them, like, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grow up? And what are your hopes and dreams? And I was like, I'm getting to know them. Like, that's how like, I don't want to talk to them about like the weather and their commute. Like, I'm not interested in that. I want to know them as a person. I've never, I've never been good at small talk. I've always been very into big talk. And so that was something that he saw as such a character flaw. And it made me really self-conscious about it for a long time. I also, my high school boyfriend broke up with me because he said I was too silly. And so I think that when you
Wow.
hear feedback like that, it makes you want to, be small
Right.
and hide those things. And it took me with both of those pieces of feedback, unsolicited feedback, took me a
That's
long time to say, well, that's your opinion of me.
right.
And but I know who I am. It's like how pink is my favorite color and I didn't admit that until like 5 years ago because pink wasn't cool. Like being girly wasn't cool. And I'm like, that's who I am. Like, I like pink and glitter, and I have strong opinions about the state of the world. Like, it can be both, right? And so it's been a journey of getting to know myself and knowing that that journey never ends, right? Like, a year from now, I might listen back to this and be like, what was I saying? Like, I don't agree with any of that now. And I think especially to be a public facing voice, you have to have that humility of, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I might change my mind.
Yeah.
I think that makes us human. And so my approach to these conversations is a mix of what I learned as a journalist and maintaining that journalistic integrity, but I'm not here to grill people. And I always tell them that from the start. I'm like, none of the questions I'm going to ask you are going to surprise you. If anything is off limits, let me know.
Right.
People always have the right to say, if I ask them a question, they can always say, I don't want to talk about that. And I will tell you, in my 400 plus episodes, it has never once happened. Maybe that means I'm asking like too many softball questions, but I've pushed a handful of people, and they're usually game to answer the questions. And so I always have that conversation beforehand to hopefully put them at ease and let them know, like, there are no gotcha moments here.
Mhm.
I'm not here to try to get something scandalous out of you. I'm not here to put you on the spot. We just want to get to know you as a person. And so sometimes, and everyone's different, right? Some people open right up right away. Now that podcasts and media are everywhere, I think that professional runners, especially, have gotten really good at doing this.
Yeah.
For a long time, it was hard. Runners weren't used to doing interviews like this. They were just used to doing the post race. How was your race? How did you feel? Did you expect it to go out that fast? Tell us about the move you made at the 10K, whatever. Whereas now it's really about getting to know them as people. And I think the more opportunities these athletes have to talk about their stories and share their stories, the better they get at sharing them, which is great for us. It also means less PR machine
Yep.
answers. It used to be like, yeah, everything's going well. And I want to thank my sponsor, Saucony, for making it possible. I'm really loving the Saucony Endorphin Pro. And I'm like, that's not it. Like, okay. Uh, Whereas now it is more candid. It does flow better. I try to really get a read on the people too. The first question's always awkward on
Yeah.
any interview. And I've done 400. And the first question, I always sound terrible. It's
Mhm.
always stiff from the start, even if it's someone I've interviewed 100 times. Like, we'll talk offline for 5 minutes first, and it's flowing and we're chatting and blah, 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 and then I hit record and it's like, okay, we've got like it. And then by the end, we can't shut up because
Yeah.
it's fun. I try to read on them. Sometimes I will insert my own stories a little bit. I never want to talk too much about myself. Uh, but sometimes I can kind of tell if it will help the person to hear a little bit. Like if they're talking about a hard time and I can tell that they're kind of hesitating or holding back, I might share a story of something similar. I
Right.
might add a little levity. I might crack a joke, which is a thing I do a lot. So I try to get a read on that. The goal for me is really to put the person at ease, to make them comfortable, for them to know that it's a safe space.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm not necessarily going to ask some challenging questions, whatever that might look like. Uh, but I'm not there to uncover a scandal. I'm not trying to like I'm not trying to make headlines. I'm not like, ooh, let me see if I can get the big reveal on this and we'll get in the New York Times. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think these people are interesting and I want to get to know them better. It's so simple.
It's not investigative journalism. Uh,
No, exactly.
and it's funny because I had, just talking with athletes, and they say, this approach is what's needed in track and field, because just at the being in Magic Boost when we were out in Eugene, you know and our group, we've had several conversations. We had several conversations out there, in the press conference and everything. They're pressing the athletes to try to get a story, and I know that because as someone in college, how they kind of train, ask these specific questions and you have a story in your mind. But you know the athletes, like you said, they answer the same questions and you ask the same questions. And sometimes, you ask the same questions so you can put your name on the story, even though they've answered it, 10,000 times. And so, they're more robotic instead of human. And it does not help the perception of athletes and stuff like that. They're people too. They're just not, people who live, think, and breathe sports 24/7. There are real world concerns that they have. And then sometimes they don't want to talk about sports. If you just lost a race or you're on a losing streak or you're not training well for whatever reason, why would you want to come on and, oh, how's training going? I go, it's good.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And if we want to grow the sport, we need to make these people interesting to non-runners
Right.
or to new runners or to people who, maybe throws people and are starting to get into running. Like, how do we bring new people into the sport and make these people human? Because they are. Like, I will never forget. Well, I always say I will never forget, and then I'm like, I have a terrible memory. I will forget
Yeah,
all of this
it's
at some
like
point.
that.
I hope I never forget.
There you go.
After Des Linden last April, after she ran that 50K record that she went out and did on that trail, which was so fun to watch, they did a virtual press conference and I was invited to it. And I've never even been to a regular press conference at this point. That's just not a part of my job I usually do. So I'm in this virtual press conference. It's on Zoom. Of course, all I'm doing is looking at like who else is in here, like stalking all the people, their bios. I'm like, oh, it's Jonathan Galt from Let's Run. It's Allison Wade Fast Women. Erin Strout's here. She was women's running at the time. Like total imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And so then it was Des and her agent, Josh Cox. And they're like, okay, we're going to open it up. Just start asking your questions. And people were typing them in the chat. And I'm watching these questions pop up and I'm like, no one's asking what I really want to know, but I'm way too embarrassed to ask because I ask what I'm curious about. I don't have a predetermined narrative. I'm not trying to write a story for Runner's World. I'm having a conversation. And so I'm watching the questions and they're like, what shoe were you running in? How did it feel? How was that hairpin turn you had to make? Like interesting, relevant stuff, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, I want to know if it was fun. Like,
Yeah.
there were no spectators. Like, did that feel like a grind? And so I finally was like, I'm going to type my question in the chat and they can choose to answer it or they can roll their eyes and skip it. And so I like nervously type, I'm like, I think I typed like, where was it on the funometer between like 1 is the worst day of your life and 10 is winning Boston? Like how fun was it or whatever? And they answered. And I remember Josh Cox being like, this is such an Allie Feller question and feeling so like insulted by that. And then I was like, no, like, I don't care if that's an Allie Feller question. Like, and he was joking. I don't think he meant it as an insult. I should follow up with him on that.
Right.
And then I was like, all right, I'm going to ask more of the questions I'm curious about. So my next question a couple minutes later, because I was also like, I don't want to ask too many. Like, I don't want to, I don't know, like, what are the rules there? I need rules and guidelines. And so I was like, Des, the goal was for you, your husband, Ryan, was out there too. What happened to Ryan? Because we heard all about Dez's race. We knew that Des crossed the finish line. We had gotten no updates on Ryan Linden. And so they like see it and they laugh. And I've had Ryan on my show. I've had Des and Ryan on together. So they know who I am. And they like laugh. Josh, her agent, gets up, goes and grabs Ryan, her husband. He was in the room. So Ryan sits down. So then Des and Ryan are chatting together. I was loving it. Like they brought out such a good dynamic in each other. The imposter in me the whole time was saying the real journalists in the room are annoyed right now. Like they want their questions answered. This is a distraction. They don't care about Ryan's race, but I was like, I'm entertained as hell. So,
Yeah.
and I didn't get in trouble. So yeah, I think sometimes you just gotta, my whole thing is I ask what I actually want to know.
Right.
I ask what I'm actually curious about. If someone's telling a story and they might say like, oh yeah, and I got up and I had a sandwich and then blah, blah, blah. The whole time I'm thinking, what kind of sandwich?
Yeah.
Like I gotta know what kind of sandwich.
Processed meat or like regular. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, are we talking BLT, grilled cheese, fried chicken? Like I gotta know what kind of sandwich. And so, I don't think I've ever regretted asking a question but I know that I have regretted not asking the thing
Yeah.
I wanted to know.
Press conferences are difficult. I was in 2 virtual press conferences and I felt the imposter syndrome that you were talking about. So I like type something in and then delete because like you said, you're like you have all these journalists there and everything, and it's like I don't belong. Like I remember I asked a question to Joe Kovacs and I had my hand up, but like there were 2 conversations going on. It was like, okay, one side of the brain is like, okay, what are you asking? The second side of the brain is praying like, Lord, just don't let them see me. I sat in this corner for a reason and everything. And then they give me the mic and I'm like shaking, like, oh, hey, Mr. Kovacs, it's Dominique Smith. I'm not writing for anybody, but he's from Pennsylvania. His wife was Ashley was the coach at Ohio State before getting the job at Vanderbilt, and she's doing an incredible job. So I was like, okay, what is it like being a Penn State guy in Ohio State, country? And he laughed, and then my soul, like,
You're like,
I was like,
I
oh,
did it. I made him laugh and I'm going to get a good sound bite. Yes.
but I have to, yes, but I have to get to your level where I can ask again because, like, it's
You
like,
will, though. You will.
because there's like pressure, like, oh crap, I got to, okay, I set it off. I got to follow up with something, but it's all a learning experience. And one
Totally.
interesting thing that you said earlier, you said it's a character flaw, but I don't think it's a character flaw. You and I, we both have experience going to journalism school. I don't think the questions wanting to know the big picture is a character flaw. And oh man, there was something else that you mentioned prior to going and being a character flaw, but I think there are certain things that we learned as far as, like, I had a conversation with my professor. I told him, if you asked me right after I graduated, would I be doing a podcast? I would have said no. But when you were talking about, getting to your dream magazine and everything, I don't think that's a care and thinking about the next level. I do not think that's a character flaw, because going based on conversations, they were like, well, if you want to, get to the big picture, the New York Times, this is how you have to write. So for me, my mother was a journalist at the Orlando Sentinel back in the late 70s. She was like I think she was like one of like 2 Black women working there at the time and stuff. And so I was like, okay, that's to go. I'm going to work for the Orlando Sentinel for 5 years. Following the Orlando Sentinel, I'm going up to the Wall Street Journal. That was the goal. And then I'm coming back down here, and then I'm taking over the Sentinel and everything. And so I actually worked at the Sentinel as a sports clerk right out of college. Then the pandemic hits, and then it's like, and then we were can't. I mean, it's fine. Lactic Acid wouldn't be here if it's not. But I don't think that's a character flaw as much as something that's been ingrained in us. Like,
oh, totally. Yeah.
what is the one thing? And this is probably not going to earn me brownie points within the journalism programs, and that's okay. If there's something that's been ingrained in our heads that it's not a character flaw as much as an insecurity, like a baseless insecurity. If there was something that you could change, and to any journalist listening, insecurity from what we learned that you would change based on what you know now, what would it be?
Ooh. I feel like I'm aging myself here because I'm like, oh my God, it's been so long since I went to college. I'm getting older. I'm 36. It's been a while
That
since
is not
I
old.
was in. No, it's not old. I love being 36. It's a great age.
If you are
But
young, yeah, you're fine. You're good.
but it's wild that like college every day feels further and further in the very distant past, I'm like, what did they teach me? Like
Yeah.
but even looking back, like, oh, I hate saying this, but so the years I was in college was 2003 to 2007. The internet was new. Like we literally had a class called like reporting using the internet. And it was like,
Really?
yeah. And it wasn't like Google. It was, yeah. So it really was different in many ways. And it was almost frowned upon. The internet was like a new agey thing that it was like, Oh, that's not what the real journalists do. Like real journalists are out in the field. They're either on the news or they're writing for newspapers or my focus specifically was on magazine journalism, which also many people did not take seriously. So
It is fun. If you have
oh
that,
yeah,
I had a chance to work for a magazine in college. Do it. It is so much
so
fun.
fun. Yeah, I magazines will always be my first love, I think. So I think for me, and this is different because like I said, I'm not doing hard hitting news. I'm not like, I don't know. I was going to say Katie Kirk because I'm reading her book right now. And I actually do find that I relate to her in many, many ways. But, I'm not the nightly news. I'm not even the Today Show. I'm like the fluff pieces in the 9:30 hour of the Today Show. And I'm happy doing those. So I think the biggest thing is to remember that the people that we are talking to are just that they are people. And so are we. Like, it's hard and I think back a lot. I had Shelby Houlihan on the show last summer and last winter I think. So like early last year. So before everything, right? And it was so fun. She came on the show with Carissa Schweitzer, her teammate. She played the ukulele on the show. Like we had a blast. And I was like, I didn't leave it being like, oh, I feel like I got to know her. Like sometimes after these conversations, I know that we're going to keep in touch, me and the guest. And like, that happens sometime. With Shelby, it wasn't that, but it was like, wow, I just talked to like the most badass, like middle distance runner that we have right now. And she was fun and she was cool and I'm rooting for her. And then so quickly after that, it all fell apart. And it was hard to immediately be able, for me, it was very hard to immediately be able to say, like, yep, Shelby Houlihan convicted doper.
Yeah.
Next topic. Like, I was in that camp of like, I find this hard to believe.
Mhm.
And obviously, there has been such a conversation around why that is, around why that's been such a visceral reaction among so many of us. And for me personally, which is all I can speak to, it was because I had interviewed her,
Right.
because she had opened up to me, because she had talked about her love for her cat and Harry Potter. And like, I felt like she let me in and the walls kind of came down. And this tremendous athlete was now just a person that I had talked to for an hour and a half. And so, um, there's good and bad in that.
Right.
There's good because, hey, we get to find ways to relate to these people. We get to make them human for the masses. But then when we learn something really, really terrible about them, it makes it hard to believe. There's that hero syndrome, which like Shelby's not even someone that I ever idolized. Like you know, I thought what she did was incredible on the track. She wasn't even my favorite athlete. She was great, and then she wasn't. And so that's something I've thought about a lot. And and that's something I've gotten a little bit of pushback from with my listeners, from people who have said, you've had her teammates on your show. Why didn't you push them harder? Like, why didn't you ask them more about Shelby? I've had Shalane Flanagan on my show several times since the Shelby news came out, and people are like, why didn't you ask Shalane about Shelby? And they're not wrong. And that's not what I'm trying to do. And should I don't know. Like, that's where those lines between journalist and friendly neighborhood podcast host are a bit blurred, right? Because yeah, of course there's a part of me that wants to be like, okay, Shalane, I know we're down to our last 10 minutes, but we got to talk about Shelby.
Yeah.
What's going to happen there is Shalane's going to stop talking.
Right.
She's not going to open up. She's not going to trust me. And she's probably going to cut off access going forward. I'm not going to get another Shalane interview. Does that mean I'm doing the right thing? I don't know. Like the lines have always been very clear about, you're a journalist, you're an investigative reporter. You're a friend to the athletes. And that can be a wonderful place to be, because it means we do get a lot of access. It
Right.
means that pro athletes listen to the Alley on the Run show and want to come on and talk to me. And that's awesome. It also means then when there are hard questions to be asked, I mess with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And it can affect those relationships. And so that is something where I'm a human too. And I'm always going to be navigating that. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way to approach situations like that. Um, and Shelby, if you want to come back on the show, let's go. I will ask the hard questions.
For real, like, what's your favorite Harry Potter character?
Yeah, and by the way, what's up with the burrito story? Can we talk about it? But yeah, I mean, I think that's just,
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, we got to know. So that's where it's hard. It's a good thing to be human, and it's a good thing to respect your guests as the humans and nuanced people that they are. And it's hard when there are hard questions to ask and you don't want to mess with those relationships, but you also want to do a good job and you have gone to journalism school and you know how to do those things.
Exactly.
And it's having to ask, the risk and reward of doing that, I guess.
Well, we've talked Allie on a run, and it's clear that you are who Fraser Crane wished he could be when he was in radio. I don't know if you get that reference about.
Nope.
Have you seen the show Frasier?
I mean, I know what Frasier is, but I never like watched it.
Okay. I'll think of something else. So,
do you have a Ted Lasso reference or a Schitt's Creek reference?
I do not, because I have not watched so many, like, I'll think of something.
Okay. I like fluffy TV. I like turn my brain off, laugh a little bit, feel good TV is kind of my jam.
You low key, I mean, the lowest of keys.
Okay, this better be good. I'm so nervous right now.
Have you seen the show New Girl?
Yeah.
A little bit of just when it comes to that fearless mentality.
Okay, I've never gotten that one before.
Not the craze, but from a fearless, confident, but really, really investing in.
Hell yeah. I will take it.
Yes.
I love that for me.
Yes. So yes, that's what we're gonna go with. Who's that girl? Okay. It's Allie.
It's Allie.
Yeah, I like that.
I approve.
You were a dancer.
Yes.
So I'm curious. I've never admitted this on the show, but I danced too for a minute. A hot minute. What kind of dancing did you do?
Oh, all of it. Tap, jazz, ballet. I was a competitive dancer. Oh. Dance was my entire identity. And even now, I feel like I still I shouldn't drop that into conversation ever because it's been so long since I've done that. And I cannot even lift my leg up past my hips now. Like I'm so just the ultimate inflexible runner now. But dance was my entire identity all throughout adolescence, high school. I was the captain of my college dance team. That was who I was, much in the way that now I'm Allie on the run. I was dancing Allie. I got through the school day and I liked school, but it was more like, when is the bell going to ring so I can go to dance? And weekends were dance, and all of my best friends were my dance friends. So that's yeah, awesome. A little bit of everything.
I like that. Honestly.
What did you do?
Hip hop. It's nice. Weird because the other day we have this big theater called the Bob Carr Theater. And I was in this little group, and it was so bad. I forgot the song. It's like the old song. Atomic Dog by.
Nice.
And so we had to do that. We had to do the Tootsie Roll. And so I was practicing. I don't know. I thought about it the other day, and I was whipping up dance moves, and I tried to do one of the moves they make us do, and I think almost tore my ACL.
Oh, that was me last week trying to learn a stupid TikTok dance, which is not a thing that I do. I'm not even on TikTok. It was on Instagram, so I can't even call it a TikTok dance, but cross post. And I was like, it's so catchy. I was like, I should be able to do this. It's just fun little moves. And at one point I took a step back, I tripped over my daughter's magnetiles, and I swear I pulled my hamstring. I was like, I'm done. I'm retired.
People don't understand, as a former dancer, I was not elite like you.
Oh no, I mean, I thought I was better than I was.
But listen, you were about that life. So let's cut
committed.
You were about that dancing life. Jackson 5 wrote Dancing Machine. They were probably referring to you when they wrote it. When you try to pull out those old moves and everything, you have to stretch you're about to run a 200.
Oh, even like tap was my jam. Tap was my favorite thing. And now my daughter is in dance classes and she loves tap. And I still have my tap shoes. Like I see them, they're right there.
Oh
And
wow.
so I was like, I'm going to put them on. Like, let's see. And you think you're going to have the like muscle memory. First of all, my Achilles and calves and ankles are so tight that I cannot do anything just because I have no mobility. And then I realize I'm going like half speed, like where I used to be like, da, 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 da. It's like, it's just not happening. So it is time that I pass the dancing
Pass
torch
the
to my
torch.
daughter, and she loves it. And it is really the greatest joy seeing her loving dance, which I was not going to push on her. It was more just she asked to take dance class because someone at her school was doing it. So we signed her up and she loves it.
Best memory from your dancing career.
Oh gosh, that's hard. There's a lot. I
Of
loved performing. So for me, it was always going to nationals in the summer, which those are like the big competitions where everyone from across the country comes and competes. And we would travel to nationals. Believe it or not, they were not held here in New Hampshire. So we would travel to like Virginia Beach, or I remember one year was Rhode Island. It was Boston one year. We stayed East Coast, but yeah, every summer getting to perform at nationals. We were such a close team, and I just loved being on stage. So it's hard to remember a single moment, but there was this one competition that always had an award for, gosh, what did they call it? Of course, I can't remember now, even though it was like my lifeline at the time. It was basically an award for someone who was nice. And it was like they would recognize if you were like polite backstage and said good luck to other teams, or if you were courteous to the staff. And winning that award without knowing it was a thing. Because once you know it's a thing, you
yeah.
can totally game that award and just like suck up when you know you're being watched. But when I won it the first time was before I knew like that it was a thing. And so that stands out because that's just getting recognized for who you are authentically. And that's kind of always that to me was better than getting a certain score or like first place or whatever it was. So that stands out. That's a special one. That trophy is still at my parents' house.
People will remember that you were kind to them, but they won't compare it to what was how did you win that dance competition? What
Right.
was the dance? So that is an impressive award. How many of
Yeah.
those did you rack up? Just one?
No, I think I ended up winning it like every year after
Oh
that.
my gosh.
But I was aware of it then. So I was also like, oh, I'm like the reigning, one of the reigning people. Like, but that's also who I am. Like, I'm not a jerk. I'm not like,
No.
I have my moments. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an angel.
That's
Like,
everybody.
but I'm never someone who's going to be like rude to a server. Like and I've done all those jobs. I've worked retail. I've worked in the service industry. I was a waitress. I've worked at a bar. Like that, those were very formative years for me of learning how to treat people.
Right.
And so I think that's just always kind of been important to me is like, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Don't make people feel terrible. Just be nice, be a good person. I care a lot about putting that energy out into the world.
And tip your waiters and waitresses.
Yes. Yes.
Speaking of kindness, got a couple more topics and we're going to wrap this bad boy up with a bow. You embody kindness in so many ways. And so how do you aim to do that through your platform? Especially in this world, because I mean, I don't want to say people, I almost said it on another show that, everybody sucks, but which is not the case, but there's all
Sometimes it is.
sometimes it certainly
I
goes that way.
I'll be honest with you. I literally yesterday, I've been journaling a lot this week. I will admit I've been having a really challenging week emotionally. And yesterday I literally wrote down I hate everyone today.
It's
Like it happens. I was having one of those days. People were pissing me off. People like all just everything. I was getting so much like bad news or frustrating news or like having to chase people down or people telling me how to run my business or like just all of it compounded. And so yeah, I totally had an I hate everyone day yesterday. And I'll have more of those. Um but I'm getting better at focusing on the good. For a very long time, I could have 900 kind comments and reviews for this show, for the Allie on the Run show. And the one-star review is the one that I could quote verbatim. Like that's the one. And that's always been the case for me. Like people being unkind, especially on the internet, because let's be honest, no one's really unkind to my face. Like no one really has the guts to do that.
You'll fade
But
them
being,
up. Yeah.
oh yeah, like I'm scrappy. Like let's go.
2 pieces in the biscuit right there. Don't mess with her. Yeah.
But people are out there who want to knock you down and who want to say mean things because they know it's going to break you or hurt you. And I have dealt with a lot of those people. And it is easier said than done, but those people don't matter. It has been hard for me to accept that I cannot be everything to everyone. It's been hard for me to accept that not everyone will like me. I'm not for everyone. I'm a lot. Everyone I've ever known has always told me that. I'm a lot. Allie, you're a lot. You're like a lot. People love to say that. Okay. So I'm a lot. I can't be less because then I'm not me. So if me being a lot isn't for everyone, that has to be okay. Like if at my core, I know that I'm doing my best, if I know that I am a good person or that I'm trying to be a good person, sometimes I write that I hate everyone or everyone's pissing me off. But like, if at my core, I know I'm a good person, then I can't let a stranger behind a screen, behind a Finsta, it's not even their real account that they're commenting on because they're being cowardly. I can't let that ruin my day or my week or my career. Like I just can't. And I'm going to mess up and I'm going to say the wrong thing and I'm not going to do the best job that I could. And I hate the feedback that tells me that. I do a year-end listener survey every year. And this was the first time that I hired someone else to read the responses for me. Because I was like, I can't do this to myself because even one person saying something negative, which of course they're going to, and that's fine. I was like, I'm going to outsource this. I can't take this on. And so I'm getting better at the feedback of it all. But where I have learned to really focus my energy is on the good. And there is a really amazing community that listens to the show, that's in the Facebook group. Like there's just so many good people out there and they're the ones that deserve my attention. Also, I'm a mom now. Like I can't let my kids see that a stranger on the internet made me cry. I'm fine with her seeing me cry. I cry all the time. But like that's not what's going to knock mom down. A stranger, it's not it. So work in progress, but just focusing on being the good, but also on just being me. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. I'm not going to fake it and pretend all is well. Like I don't think I've posted anything on, I like Instagram stories and I usually post a lot there, like memes and silly things. And I haven't really posted in the past 2 days because I've been super grumpy. So all that you've seen on there is me promoting today's podcast episode because that's not a personal thing, but I'm just,
Well, shout out to whoever made those cookies for you because, I wanted to go through the screen and
oh my God. Do you see these?
yes, these Allie on the Run cookies. I saw those and I was like, oh, wow.
Holy cow. That I can't even tell you. I was having such a shit day. I've sworn more on this show than I have on my own in years. Feels so liberating. Feels great. Those I burst into tears. That I can't eat them. Like I should because they're probably really good.
If you send them to me, I'm hungry.
They're so special to me and I want to keep them forever.
When I saw that, it was just like, that is so nice. Like somebody.
I know that. And that's the thing. Like people are good. And those are the people that I want in my life. And I'm at a point where I'm not going to spend my energy on not good people.
Right.
I'm just not like, and that might mean I lose clients. That might mean I lose sponsors. Oh, I mean, all my sponsors are wonderful, but, that might mean I don't work with people again, whatever it is. That's life. Right. And I'm protecting this inner circle here.
Well, one, it always amazes me because it happens to me. It happens to you. People feel like they can go up and say anything,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. And it's like, I'm just telling the truth. I'm keeping it real. It's just like, no, there's always like, my faith is the center of what I do. And just reading my Bible, like you're going to have to give an account for every mean thing that you say to someone. I didn't say it, the Lord said it. So, that always amazes me, and people hide behind that excuse. And people say that you're a lot, but you can be a lot for somebody who really needs it.
Right.
Just the most important thing, because like you were created for a reason. There's a need for Alec Feller. Like I told you, I needed to come across your podcast and needed to be in that session, because this just got started, this platform, but it's always good to see someone being a lot, because you're being authentically yourself. And so it's like, you don't have to fake to be someone else. You can, be you and stuff. So no, you have moments where everybody does suck. I try not to say it because, it doesn't for the masses, but
it's real, right? Like,
but it's so real.
I have a friend, and I've told her before, because she has said to me, she's like, am I a lot? Like, I feel like I'm a lot. And I'm like, if a lot is too much, people can go find less. Like, if this a lot is too much, go find less. And that's okay. I don't mean like less than. I'm not like, find someone who's less than, like, not that at all. Find someone who's more your speed. Find someone who's more chill. Find someone who knows when to shut up. Like, I'm none of those things. So you can pick and choose, and that's okay. We're all showing up and doing our best.
Doing our very best. Couple more questions, then we will get to the segment that I call Down the Home Stretch. So your running story about how you got started resembles mine almost. No, honest to God's truth, for elementary school, and I'll have you tell yours, but I listened to it the other day, and I remember, oh my God, it was years ago. They needed to test time for whatever. And so I like ran down the street and ran back, and I had to do it 5 times. And I came across doing this. I'm like, I'm Usain Bolt up in here, but just the American version. And everything. And granted, that didn't amount to anything. It was just good for football training. But for you, yours started as a dead sprint, and now you're out here balling on these running streets. So kind of talk about how you got into the art of running.
Yeah, I moved to New York City after college. I lived with a group of women that I found on Craigslist. They had an open room in their apartment. I got the room. One of the roommates had all these medals on her walls, and I was like, cool necklaces. What are those?
Yeah.
And she explained those were her medals earned from running half marathons. She explained that that was a thing that people chose and paid to do. And she convinced me to try running. And yeah, first day, sprinted out the front door because I didn't know about pacing. And the first day, that first run was a couple seconds. And then the next day it was like, oh, I ran to that lamppost. Now can I get one lamppost further? The beauty of city running. There's so many, or anywhere, but little goalposts that you could measure your progress. And so I did that, kept going further, made it a mile, and then the mile back. So 2 miles, signed up for a 4-mile race. I was hooked. I loved it. And then gradually worked up in distance. I think it was the day I ran that 4-mile race, I signed up for a half marathon a couple months later. And so I've just always, I've always loved it. That doesn't mean it's been easy. It's rarely easy, but it's always been something I've enjoyed doing. It invigorates me. It makes me feel good. I love being outside. And so, yeah, I've been running since 2008. So how many years is that? 12?
So 2008 to 2014.
14 years?
So 2008 to 2018 is 10.
I'm embarrassed by my math.
2018, 2020, that's 12. 2020 to now 2022, that's 14.
Wow, that doesn't seem right. Yeah, I believe you.
But here's
the thing. Yeah.
We're journalists. We didn't sign up to be mathematicians or
fact checkers. Like, where's the fact checker in here?
We don't keep stats. I didn't take statistics, and if I did,
did I?
Yeah, so that's not our job.
I barely know how to use Microsoft Excel, so
I don't use Excel. I use
numbers. Oh, Google Docs.
Oh,
Nice.
well, I want to give a shout out to my mama who helps me tremendously on everything when it comes to numbers. Uh, Shout out to Yvonne Wilson. Um, so, we're
Well,
not,
yeah, that's the running story, and I love it.
I can tell you were a really good journalist because you answered the second question. In addition to that, in that entire answer, I love that. Is it weird to like be on the other side of the microphone?
No, I love it.
There you
I
go.
love both sides. I didn't have to prepare for this. I just showed up, which was nice. I don't have any notes. I don't have no, this is great.
That is awesome. Okay. How has being a parent not only impacted what you do as a, commentator and Alley on the Run, but just as a runner? Do you see things differently? Are you more empathetic? Um, have you noticed the change and everything? It's
Oh yeah.
awesome to see the pictures of your daughter and how, open you are and, what you're trying to teach her and the things that you enjoy doing with her. I felt pain on the other side of the screen when you put your Christmas decorations down on like December 26th. I thought that was like ungodly. But
No, we didn't end up taking them. We took them down after the new year. My husband was like, "We're keeping them up." I was ready to take them down. I just like to clean up. I like to be tidy.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
I still
Um,
go ahead.
I know I'm such a Grinch. Uh, Everything has changed since becoming a parent. I mean, physically, emotionally, my goals. I'm still me, but yeah, it becoming a parent, there is a whole new subset of humanity that I can relate with now as I'm interviewing people like Kira D'Amato, like Sarah Vaughn, like Sarah Hall, these women smashing records in their late 30s who are mothers. I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm not doing what they're doing, but like in many ways I can relate and I find so much inspiration there. And so that's a big part of it is yeah, um I can relate to the fellow mothers. I can understand I always say I don't like to call them sacrifices. I call them choices, the choices that they've made to get where they are today and how it all works when you are a parent. And so certainly that has changed in that I can relate to a whole different group of women and parents and caregivers, which is a wonderful thing. It has also made me sort of put my own life under a bit of a microscope of, okay, this tiny little person is watching everything I do. And gosh, is she intuitive and they pick up on everything. Kids, you think they're not listening. And then 3 weeks later, they parrot back something that you said that you didn't think they heard. And you're like, oh my God. So yeah, it's just being really aware that someone is always watching and I want to be a role model for her. And that doesn't mean being perfect in every scenario. That doesn't mean always smiling and being happy. I want her to see the range of human emotions that I experience every hour of every day. And that I keep moving forward in spite of them or with them or whatever that looks like. But it's made me prioritize how I'm spending my time. It's made me prioritize who I let into my life. Like I was saying earlier, I don't want to work with jerks and I don't have to. I, yeah, it might mean making less money that month because I work for myself. It might mean having to find two clients to make up for one, whatever it is. But I want her to see me standing up for myself. I want her to see me not backing down on my values. I want her to see me as a role model that, yeah, I work really hard and I want to be really present for her. So, yeah, it's on my mind constantly. Like when I introduce myself, I'll always say I'm Allie Feller, the host of the Allie on the Run show. And it's always interesting to me when I listen to other parents introduce themselves because I always prompt them to do that when they're on the show. And sometimes it's, I'm Allie Feller, I'm a mom, I'm this, and then it's the job. Sometimes the job comes first. We can read into that however much we want. I don't think I've ever said mom first, except at like play dates or at the playground. I'm like, oh, I'm Annie's mom, because that's just
Yeah.
how you know other parents and that's how you
Right.
put them in your cell phone. I'm always going to be Allie, me, the human, the parent, the mother, the podcast host. But having a child and becoming a mom has added an amazing dimension that bleeds its way into all of that and is always kind of like right here. Like even when I'm doing interviews, it's always there. Like I'm always aware of where she is or what she's doing, when I need to pick her up. Like
Yeah.
it never goes away, and I don't want it to. So yeah, it's awesome.
How does the success of, the Sarah Halls, at 37 doing the incredible things that they did inspire you? In what way?
Yeah, our time's not up. I mean, some of these women are just getting started. I think for professional runners, it's a little different in that for so long they were told that the prime time to sign on with a sponsor is right out of college, right? You have a standout year in college, or standout 4 years, 5 years of eligibility. That's the time that you're worth the most, is when you're young blood, fresh meat, right? And as women, that is certainly something that we've always been told in so many areas of life. And so to see these women, Kira D'Amato signed her first sponsorship deal at 36. Like Sarah Vaughn, same thing. Sarah Vaughn just signed with Puma. And then to see Sarah and Kira breaking these records, it's inspiring, even though my goals are not time related on the run.
Mm-hmm.
It is inspiring to know that like your life does not end in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s. Your life ends when it ends, right? And it's something I think about a lot as a podcast host, of like, when am I irrelevant? When are people like, she's too old to listen to or to look at? When do we just want younger voices in here? And that, I always feel like this career is very fleeting. Every day I feel that. Yeah, I bring that to therapy. Don't worry.
No, but that's interesting because I've never heard that.
Yeah, I think it all the time.
I'm 27 and maybe I'm certainly not a therapist, but I this is just my opinion and everything. I disagree with that wholeheartedly, because I think what you're doing, it's so you are doing what we were trying to do, what we're trying to do with Magic Boost. Obviously, they're bringing in the next wave, but you're doing what Chris's vision. Chris loved, man, you've been mentioned on the show more times than none, because you've changed so many, lives, including mine. But what you're doing, I don't think has a time value, because it's the blueprint of what we're trying to do. And so I don't think age has anything to do with it and stuff like that. As long as there's a story to be told. And here's the thing, you build trust with these athletes in such a way that, like I said, this is just my 2 cents on the dollar. I can't see your reign of podcasting ending. I mean, you could be 175 years old, and as long as
oh God, don't make me live that long. I'm already so tired.
But as long as like you have a story, pretty much I don't see it ending until you want it to end. And stuff.
Well, you're gonna be my new like pep talk guy. I'm telling you. I'm gonna be calling you up, be like, "Can I have a pep talk today?
Hey, listen, that's my
I'm
job.
about to record with Shelby. Can I have a pep talk?"
I was a coach,
I just have so many questions, and I'm a human where I'm like, ultimately, I'm like, hope she's okay. Like,
I did see
which I know
yeah. Go ahead.
Like, I hope emotionally she's okay, regardless of what she did or did not do. I hope she, the person, is getting sleep at night and is supported and is okay. Like I think about that a lot. I can't turn off the very empathetic side of my brain, where I worry a lot about people.
Well, I mean, it was good to see she posted something. She's said that she felt it would be the worst, time of her life, but she's explored other options, which was great to see, because at the end of the day, this is just, your knees are gonna, get to the point, and your mind's gonna get to the point where it's like, I don't feel like doing this at this competitive level. Like, it all has a shelf life, and if your identity is like solely in this, then it's a struggle. But I agree with you, and I think that's the wonderful thing about at least your platform, is that you actually care about the athletes and not what they can do for you and stuff like that. And so I do, Shelby, if you want to do an exclusive with the both of us, it doesn't have to be anything. Honestly, it doesn't have to be track related. Obviously, we have our curiosities that can be off air, but yeah, just to make sure she's doing good, and that This hasn't over.
And getting help, right? Like that's what I think about and I know I'm getting way too into the weeds with this, but like we've seen so many people in history make really bad choices. And I hope that people can learn from those and come back. And yeah, we're probably not going to idolize her again like we have. And I don't know. I mean, there's so many nuances to this story, but I always hope people are okay. And I've gotten feedback from people before who are like, you're trying too hard to be friends with these people. And I'm like, I assure you, I do not give a shit about being friends with these people. Like,
Yeah,
if we become friends, and that happens all the time,
it's a bonus.
that happens. That's called life. We're like, oh, we had a great conversation. Let's stay in touch. I have never once gone into an interview saying, this is how I'm going to get in. Like, what do I like?
What do you have
Also, what kind of weird friendship is that where I'm like, I'm going to become friends with this, like, I'm going to make Des be my friend. That's not going to be like a normal friendship. That's going to like, that's just fangirling. And also, I don't think fangirling is a bad thing. It's great to be a fan of these people in the sport. But it's always funny when people are like, oh, Allie, you're trying too hard to be friends. I'm like, I promise you, I'm not. Like, I'm just friendly.
Yeah, they make you out to be a sociopath, a social.
Yeah. Like, I did show up at her house the next day with a bouquet of flowers. Is that not? No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
like no, it's like we're not doing that. And just tell them you live in New Hampshire, the flowers probably were frozen by the time they got to where she is. No, we got to do like all these haters of Allie.
There's not that many. I'll be honest, or at least not to my face. Like I would say 99.2% of the people are lovely, but like I said, it's that 0.08%. Just crush that math. 0.08 or 0.8. Shit, maybe I didn't crush that math, but whatever.
So you said 99.2. So
yeah, so it's 0.8. So the 0.8%.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
It's little.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. No, you hit you hit it. That is, yes. That was perfect.
Doing my best.
That was perfect. I had to think about that, and I was like, oh, it's 8. It's like, no.
Wow. Yeah.
Go back to school. You see, that's gonna take their freaking degree away from me and everything like that. But no, it does. And I think the problem is the internet. This everything like him or hate him, and I don't agree with some of the things he said, but he said this, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. Steve Harvey, he said the internet, the problem with it has given a platform for nobodies to comment, and it's made it so easy. You got somebody with an egg, as a profile picture, saying the worst things, and it's just like, okay, even if you're trying to troll, just the fact that you thought of that and then you were willing to say it, to make it public and everything, even if it's for attention. Like the adage that I wish would go away is sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me. It's like, no,
words hurt me. I would rather take a stick to the face.
But seriously, because
like my physical, I'll be fine. Like I can fix that, but my heart cannot take mean words. Yeah, I agree.
It crushes your confidence. It crushes,
totally.
And it stays with you. Unfortunately, I have to pray a lot. My mom, she's been helpful. We've been diving in the Bible, and it's because of the mean things that people have said to me over the years, and they felt comfortable saying it over the years, that has masked itself into insecurities.
Totally.
And stuff like that. So, compassion and caring about somebody is not a fangirl thing. It's not I just want to be your friend, so let me fake. Because if the aim for people coming on Allie on the Run is for you to be their friends, then you are faker than a $2 steak. But and it's like a psychopath. We should put you on like Lifetime or something like that. But that's not the aim. It's just, yeah. Hey, that's sponsorship money though. But that's not, you can tell that's not the aim because it's never overly awkward.
Yeah.
like it's pure, it's natural, and that's why I say I think you will always have a place and have a lead role until like you decide I don't feel like doing this anymore. uh and that's just from my perspective as a young person, and just knowing where we're trying to go, being authentic, telling different stories, promoting diversity, really, having the athletes be themselves. I think there's always a seat at the table for it. And, for you, you just happen to have the head seat at the table
Oh,
when it comes to this movement.
that's very generous. You're very nice.
Last question, then we'll wrap this bad boy
Okay.
up. What is the change that you want to see in the sport?
I want people to see that they belong here. I hate when I hear that someone showed up to a group run and went back home because they didn't feel welcome, or they didn't see anyone that looked like them, or that the group was too fast or whatever. And yeah, um, I'm not saying every running group needs to be all levels and all abilities. There's a place for competitive athletes. There's a place for, but I want this sport to be more accessible. I want people to want to run. I want people to let it change their lives. If I can play a tiny little role in that, then I think I've done my job here. But I really want, I just want to see the good. I want to see um, happy spectators. I want to see professional athletes who are well taken care of and who are healthy and nourished and are taking care of their emotional well-being. Um, I want to throw sunshine and rainbows at everything. That
Trying
is
to
my
see
solution.
the sunshine on somebody's cloudy day. Okay,
Yeah.
I could do that. It reminds me of the prophet known as Marshawn Lynch. Make sure you're taking care of your chickens and your mentals, and then you will be good.
Love
So
it.
we are now at the final segment called Down the Home Stretch. This is a rapid fire
Ready.
ordeal. If you do not answer these quickly, it's okay.
Oh, I
One
thought you were like, you're off the show.
No,
Okay.
one person has answered it because she took it as a challenge. That is the GOAT, Miss Kara Winger. She came on the show, she blessed the show, and she took it as a challenge and she knocked it out of the park.
All right, I'm ready.
But like I said, it is no big deal. It's all good if you don't
Okay.
just answer to the best of your ability. Are you ready?
Wait, are these like quiz questions?
Uh
Is this like running trivia, or are these
no
like,
no
what's
no
your
no no
favorite
no no
movie?
no no no
Oh,
no.
okay. I got nervous for a second.
These
Okay,
are
yes.
things. So to make this as authentic as possible, I don't have any notes on this. This is
Oh,
just
great. Okay, let's see what happens.
my head.
Okay.
So for those listening, sometimes I'll stutter my thoughts. It's because I don't write it down. I try to keep it as
I
fresh
love
as
it.
possible. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
If there was a food that you had to keep for the rest of your life and a food that you had to get rid of, what are you going with?
I'm keeping warm bread with butter and a little bit of sea salt, and I'm getting rid of olives.
I like that. Let's stay on the bread topic.
Great.
I'm going to give you some locations. If you haven't been to them, that's fine. You can mention one if you prefer. Olive Garden, Red Lobster, Outback Steakhouse, Texas Roadhouse, Longhorns.
All right, you listed like all my favorites.
Of those, perfect. That's great. Of those 5 places that I've mentioned, who has the best bread or biscuit rolls?
Red Lobster cheddar biscuits.
My girl, that's it right there. That's why she the GOAT. That's why she's sitting at the head of the table and you get the big piece of chicken. I like that.
Yay.
Okay. If you had to pick a theme song or a song in general to describe your life, what are you rolling with?
Celine Dion, A New Day Has Come.
Okay.
Every day's a new day. Every day is ripe for opportunity.
Is that every day is the one you love?
No, it's that's Sheryl Crow. Every day is a winding road.
Oh, wow. God.
This is Celine Dion. A new day has come. She's my favorite.
Celine, my bad girl. Miss Cheryl, I'm sorry too. We praise the Lord for the ability to edit. I don't know if this is going to stay in. Okay. Dream location to run.
Ooh. Anywhere. I love wherever I can run. I would love to run on some of the beautiful trails out in Utah.
Okay. I
I
like
also love San Francisco.
San Francisco. So do you like running like on hilly platforms?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That,
like mountains.
if there was a 90s theme that you would bring back and a 90s theme that you would get rid of, uh, I'm sorry, if there was a theme that you would bring back and a theme that you would get rid of, or trend, screw this question up. If there was a trend that you would keep and a trend that you would get rid of, what would it be?
Oh, I never gave up on the 90s. I never stopped wearing leg warmers. I never stopped with the fanny pack. So, leg warmers, fanny pack. I love an off the shoulder situation. I love bike shorts. I love neon. I love bright colors. I love crimping my hair. I'm keeping everything. Um, I'm keeping everything.
So there's not a trend that you would get rid of.
No.
That is
See,
interesting.
and because people should wear what makes them happy.
I didn't mean clothes. I just meant anything.
Yeah, and then I couldn't think of anything else. So I'm just diverting back to my rainbows
I
answer,
got you.
like sunshine and yeah.
Mine would be TikTok. I would get rid of that.
TikTok?
Yes.
That's not the 90s.
But yeah, I screwed the question up. So it could be anything from any time period.
Oh, I thought you said the 90s.
I did. I said a lot of stuff that was wrong.
Well, I'm sticking with the 90s because otherwise it's too overwhelming for me.
Yes, we will keep the 90s. Okay.
Okay.
If there was a show that you can be a guest on, so let's stick with the 90s. If there was a 90s show that you can be a guest on, what would it be?
Full House.
Full House. Rip Bob Saget.
Or Saved by the Bell.
Oh, I
Which,
like that.
by the way, did not stand the test of time. Saved by the Bell didn't hold up.
It did not at all. I used to watch that. It
was my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, it faded like a cheap suit.
Yeah, pretty bad.
So I definitely understand that. Okay, just a couple more. If you had to pick someone to narrate your life, who would it be?
Alexis Rose from Schitt's Creek.
Oh, okay. I like that. If you had to have dinner with anyone, who would it be? Just anybody that's not Alexis from Schitt's Creek.
Oh, wow, you're ruling her out. Okay. David Rose from Schitt's Creek.
Rose, okay. I know that character.
I mean, I would like a dinner party where like David Rose is there, both of my grandmothers are there, my parents, my daughter, Katie Couric, because I'm reading her book. I have a lot of follow-up questions, and Michelle Obama.
I like that. I do like that. Couple more. Cartoon character that relates to you the most.
Oh, Rainbow Bright.
Okay.
Also Joy from Inside Out. I really love Joy.
I like that. What is the best book that you've read?
The Little Engine That Could, children's book.
The Little Engine That Could. Last question. What is the biggest thing that makes you smile?
Oh, my daughter, everything she does, especially when she wakes up in the morning and she wants to snuggle. It's the best feeling in the world.
You have completed the rapid fire challenge. You have completed it. You aced it. I will give you came in second place. I screwed up that question. Kara,
but that is not a reflection on me. And I would like to challenge the judges so that I can be first place.
In the spirit of the Winter Olympics that just started, you can split a medal if you want.
Okay, deal.
We can do tie for first place.
I would love that.
Yes, so you will receive a complimentary gold medal when I start getting a little bit more money, and then I can put it out.
You know what? Save your gold. Send me a Red Lobster biscuit.
Listen, now here's the thing.
You can buy them.
I got some. I got a whole box in the kitchen. So like I
gotta do that. I gotta get on that.
Listen, you ain't saying nothing but a word. We have a place that says bolt size, Red Lobster cheddar bay biscuits. I got you, fam. Just yeah.
I love it.
Right up to New Hampshire. When's your birthday?
May 6th.
May 6th. I got you.
Yeah, we got time.
We got time. Allie, you are the GOAT. It was an honor to have you on the show. What can we expect from the Allie on the Run show?
Well, lots coming up. Next week is Love on the Run week. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. Every year leading up to Valentine's Day, I put out 7 episodes in 7 days, and they are all conversations with couples in the running industry. So this year we have an excellent lineup. This is the 3rd year. It's a ton of work, 7 episodes in 7 days, and then it's like right back into the regular weeks. So it's not like I take a break after that. So yeah, lots of love stories coming to the Allie on the Run show.
Oh man, that's awesome. Are you broadcasting or covering any more races in the near future?
TBD. My calendar is a bit of a mess right now. I know that in May I will be at the Bayshore Marathon. In this summer, I will be at the Wineshine Half Marathon in Napa. I'm sure, at the New York City Marathon in some capacity in the fall. So yeah, I'm always got stuff going on.
And where can they find you?
The Allie on the Run show podcast is on all major podcast players. My website is allieontherunblog.com for all the show notes and good stuff. And Instagram and Twitter, I'm Allie on the Run 1.
Yes. And if you send her an email, she will look at it. She may not respond, but she will look at it. She reads.
I do my best. It's a black hole. I know. It's terrible.
It is lit. It is lit. Allie, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on this show. That's it for this episode. Make sure to follow the Lactic Acid Podcast on Instagram at that Lactic Acid Podcast, Lactic Acid _podcast. Lactic Acid _pod on Twitter. I'm on TikTok, Lactic Acid Podcast. I don't know how to use it, but I would appreciate it if you followed me. And follow the lacticacidpodcast.org website, where you can find all the episodes and written articles there. Also on YouTube, Lactic Acid with Dominique Smith. And like you heard in the ad leading up to the episode, if you go on the Paper Trails Greeting Company website, order a great product from there, you get 15% off if you use the code Lactic Acid. And if you are a sponsor looking to sponsor the show, email me at lacticacidpodcast@gmail.com. Would love to work with you. Would love to promote your brand. Until next time, we'll catch you later.